10 years of living in stress, and living in stress is living in survival, and stress, as you know, knocks the brain and body out of balance. And so, and it's a scientific fact that the long-term effects of the hormones of stress downregulate genes and create disease. So people spend 70% of their life living in survival or living in stress, and no organism can live in emergency mode for that amount of time. And certain emotions that we feel when we react to people or conditions in our lives, that emergency state, the arousal of the brain and body, drives us to very primitive behaviors and primitive thoughts. And they became aware that they had to stop being that person. That's a very important thing. They had to break the habit of being themselves. And that's significant because they're not relying on now any drug, even though they're treating with a drug or a treatment or surgery, that they're all of a sudden taking more responsibility of paying attention to how they think, noticing how they act or how they speak, or looking at how they feel, and stop blaming somebody from 20 years ago that they just decided that they had to make the changes. So they had to break the habit of being themselves. Third thing I thought was so fascinating was that they had to reinvent themselves. And they started thinking, well, God, if I had a chance, another shot at life, who would I be? And there's this concept in neuroscience called mental rehearsal. And when you close your eyes and you plan an action, or you rehearse mentally what you're about to do, if you're truly present, the brain doesn't know the difference between what's going on out there and what's going on in here, that the imagery that you're creating, the brain captures as an experience. So then the experience begins to enrich the brain. So they, over time, began to install the neurological hardware in their brain, the platform of who they would become. And as they started doing that, and they started overcoming fear or anger or hostility or pain or suffering, they started getting happy. And they started feeling these heartfelt emotions of freedom and gratitude for no reason. And I think that when they started feeling that feeling independent of what was going on in their life, in other words, they weren't waiting for their healing to happen so they could feel grateful. They were feeling grateful before the healing, which is, gratitude is the ultimate state of receiving. I mean, when you receive something, or you've just received something, or something's happening to you, or something's happened to you, you feel gratitude, you say thank you. Well, the body, as the unconscious mind, it doesn't know the difference between an experience that creates an emotion and an emotion that you're fabricating by thought alone. So the body starts to feel gratitude. It's believing it's in the actual experience of being healed. So, and the research shows, Chris, that the environment signals the gene, and the end product of an experience in the environment is an emotion. So then you can signal genes ahead of the environment if you begin to embrace emotions before the experience. And genes begin to make proteins, and proteins give you the expression of life.